The room was buzzing with laughter and chatter. It was one of those gatherings where everyone seemed to know each other, sharing stories and jokes, raising their glasses, and enjoying the music that played softly in the background. In the corner of the room, a woman sat quietly, watching the lively crowd with a gentle smile on her face. She wore a simple dress, nothing flashy, just comfortable and elegant. Her hands rested calmly on her lap, and she seemed content to observe rather than participate. Around her, small groups formed and dissolved like waves. People were talking about work, about recent trips, about minor victories and funny mishaps. The room was warm with laughter, and the clinking of glasses added a lively rhythm to the evening. Some people were dancing, others were teasing one another playfully, and a few were standing near the piano, which had been slightly pushed to the side, as if waiting for someone to notice it. The piano itself was polished, with ivory keys gleaming under the soft lighting. A few guests walked past it, tapping the keys lightly and smiling, testing its sound. It was clear that it had not been played for some time, yet it still held a presence, quietly waiting for attention. One of the guests, feeling playful and perhaps a little mischievous, glanced over at the quiet woman. He nudged a friend and whispered something, pointing subtly toward her. They chuckled, expecting her to just continue watching. The idea that she might be good at something, anything, seemed almost amusing. They had seen her quietly sip her drink and observe the room, and they assumed she was shy, maybe even timid. The thought struck them as funny. What if she could actually play the piano? They exchanged glances, their curiosity growing into a challenge. Without making it too obvious, they approached her, still smiling, and asked in a teasing tone if she could play the piano. The words were lighthearted, almost mocking, and they added, "Just for fun, nothing serious." The woman looked up at them, her eyes calm and steady. For a moment, she didn't respond, simply observing the slight smirk on their faces. Her lips curled into a quiet smile, almost imperceptible, and she nodded slowly, as if accepting something unspoken. The room, sensing a possible spectacle, began to take notice. A few people nearby leaned closer, curious about what was about to happen. Whispers passed through the crowd, some amused, some skeptical. The idea of her playing the piano was unexpected. They had all seen her sitting quietly, seemingly uninterested in joining the lively conversations, and now the suggestion that she might play an instrument added a new layer of intrigue. She rose from her seat with a quiet grace, her movements measured and composed. There was no rush, no nervous energy, just a calm determination. As she walked toward the piano, the atmosphere shifted subtly. People paused in their conversations. The soft music in the background seemed to fade, and all eyes turned toward her. Even those who had been chatting or laughing found themselves holding their breath, sensing that something unusual was about to unfold. As she reached the piano, she placed her hands lightly on the keys, feeling their texture. Her fingers hovered for a moment, almost as if she was recalling a memory, before pressing down to produce the first notes. They were soft, almost hesitant, but perfectly in tune. The sound seemed to catch everyone by surprise, a delicate whisper that drew attention without demanding it. The initial notes hung in the air, quiet yet captivating. People exchanged glances, some raising their eyebrows, others smiling in recognition of something unexpected. The woman's posture was relaxed, yet her focus was intense. She was not performing for attention or praise. She was simply playing, letting the music flow naturally from her fingers. The room, sensing the sincerity of her playing, grew quieter. The laughter and chatter faded into a respectful silence, and even those who had been joking moments before found themselves mesmerized. A few guests moved closer, curious about her technique, while others stayed back, content to watch from a distance. There was a sense of anticipation building, an invisible thread connecting the piano, the woman, and the audience. Every note she played seemed to resonate with the emotions in the room, evoking feelings of nostalgia, wonder, and quiet admiration. Her fingers danced over the keys with surprising ease. The music was gentle but expressive, flowing from one melody to another without hesitation. It was clear that she was not just playing notes mechanically. Each movement was intentional, each sound carrying meaning. The room, once filled with playful energy, was now filled with awe and admiration. People leaned in, as if trying to capture every nuance, every subtle shift in the music. As she continued, it became evident that her talent was far beyond what anyone had expected. The guests who had challenged her initially looked on in disbelief, their playful smirks replaced by genuine amazement. They had thought this would be a casual, even humorous display, but what they were witnessing was something remarkable. The quiet woman who had seemed so unassuming had captivated them all with her skill and grace. The transformation in the room was palpable. Conversations had ceased, and even those who had been skeptical were now fully engaged, caught up in the beauty of the moment. Some held their breath, as if afraid to interrupt the flow of music. Others had tears in their eyes, moved by the unexpected display of talent and emotion. The woman herself remained composed, her focus entirely on the piano. She was not aware of the attention, or perhaps she chose to ignore it, allowing the music to guide her. There was a sense of freedom in her playing, a joy that was both personal and shared with everyone present. Each note carried a piece of her story, her experience, her quiet strength that had gone unnoticed until now. For those watching, it was more than just a performance. It was a reminder that appearances can be deceiving, that quiet people can hold remarkable talent, and that courage often comes in subtle, unexpected forms. The challenge that had been issued in jest had become an opportunity to witness something extraordinary, a moment that would linger in memory long after the last note faded. By the time she finished the first piece, the room was silent, not from lack of interest, but from pure respect and amazement. There was a pause, a collective inhalation, as everyone processed what they had just heard. The silence was heavy with admiration, a testament to the unexpected power of the moment. People looked at one another, sharing unspoken acknowledgement that they had witnessed something rare and beautiful. The woman lifted her hands from the keys slowly, as if reluctant to break the spell. She turned slightly, offering a quiet nod to the audience, a gesture of humility and grace. Applause began softly, tentative at first, then growing louder, more enthusiastic, as people realized the depth of what they had just experienced. It was heartfelt, genuine, and filled with appreciation. In that moment, the room had shifted. The playful teasing that had prompted the challenge was replaced by respect and admiration. The woman, who had been underestimated and overlooked, had shown not only her talent, but also her quiet confidence and courage. The music had spoken for her, revealing a side that no one had anticipated. Even those who had doubted her abilities felt a sense of humility, recognizing that talent often hides in unexpected places. The evening continued, but the memory of her playing lingered, a reminder that sometimes the most powerful moments come from the most unassuming sources. People would talk about it for weeks, sharing the story of the night when a simple challenge turned into an unforgettable display of skill and heart. And in the corner of the room, the woman returned to her seat, calm and composed once more. She sipped her drink quietly, a gentle smile playing on her lips, knowing that she had shared something true and meaningful. She had accepted the challenge, not for the approval of others, but because it was her moment to express herself. The room had fallen silent, yes, but in that silence was a profound recognition of something real, something that needed no words, only music. After the first few notes, the room seemed to hang on her every movement. The woman's hands rested lightly on the keys, her fingers moving with ease as if they had been trained for this moment all her life. Her eyes were focused, not on the audience, but on the music that seemed to flow from somewhere deep inside her. Each note told a story, each chord a small piece of emotion, and the people watching were drawn into that story without even realizing it. Some guests shifted closer, leaning in as if proximity could make them hear the music better, while others stayed at a distance, their eyes wide in awe. The playful energy from moments ago had completely vanished, replaced by something heavier, more profound. The laughter and casual chatter were gone, and in their place was a quiet intensity, an unspoken respect for the woman who had suddenly transformed the room. The woman paused briefly, just enough for a few whispered comments to escape from the crowd. "She's really good," someone said softly. Another guest nodded, shaking their head in disbelief. "I didn't expect that at all," came another murmur. The comments were gentle, almost reverent, because the music had captivated them in a way that words could not match. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the melody guide her. Her fingers moved faster now, confident and precise, filling the room with sound that was both powerful and delicate. It was clear that this was not a casual performance. This was someone who had poured years of practice, passion, and heart into the instrument. Each note seemed deliberate, each pause meaningful. She played not to impress, but because it was an expression of herself, a language she had mastered quietly over time. Memories flashed in the minds of the audience. Some remembered their own moments of hidden talent being overlooked. Others recalled being in a situation where they were judged too quickly. The music seemed to touch more than just the ears. It reached into their hearts. The atmosphere was thick with emotion, a mix of admiration, surprise, and inspiration. Even the skeptics, who had initiated the challenge, could only watch, silent and humbled by the depth of her skill. The woman's presence at the piano was commanding, yet understated. She did not seek attention, did not demand applause, and did not look around to see if she was being admired. She was lost in her own world, connected to the piano in a way that made the rest of the room fade away. It was a rare sight, a human moment so genuine that it could make anyone pause and take notice. Some guests felt a wave of curiosity about her story. Who was she? How had she learned to play so beautifully? Why had she never shared this talent before? Questions circled in their minds, but they remained silent, sensing that this was not the time for conversation. The music needed to be heard uninterrupted, and any words would feel intrusive. As the piece continued, her style shifted subtly. It was no longer just delicate and emotional. There were moments of power, bursts of speed and intensity that showed technical skill and mastery. The audience leaned forward instinctively, eyes tracking every movement of her hands. Even those who had been dismissive at first could not deny the reality in front of them. The room had transformed into something almost sacred, a place where only the music and its performer existed. A few people held their phones up, intending to record the moment, but quickly realized that capturing this on a screen would never do it justice. The emotion, the skill, and the unexpected surprise could not be contained by a video or a photo. It was something to be felt in person, something that could not be fully explained, only experienced. The woman allowed herself a small smile as she played, though her focus never wavered. She was aware of the room's reaction, of the sudden stillness, and perhaps it gave her a quiet satisfaction. Not prideful, not boastful, just a sense that she had shared a part of herself that few had seen before. Each note was a little revelation, a bridge between her inner world and the audience's heart. Time seemed to stretch in that room. What might have been 10 minutes could have felt like an hour because everyone was completely absorbed. The energy was unlike any ordinary gathering. It was as if the music had created its own world within the space. One where silence was more powerful than words and emotion was more tangible than laughter. Some guests felt goosebumps as the woman's hands glided over the keys, the notes rising and falling like a gentle wave. Others found themselves holding their breath in anticipation of each new phrase. The simplicity of her movements, combined with the complexity of the music, created a balance that was mesmerizing. It was effortless and precise, delicate and strong all at once. Occasionally, her eyes would open, scanning the room briefly, as if making sure everyone could see and feel the music, though it was never done to seek validation. It was more like a quiet connection, a subtle acknowledgement that they were sharing this moment together. The audience responded with their full attention, and the bond between performer and listeners grew stronger with every note. The challenge, initially meant as a playful dare, had become something much greater. The audience had been drawn into a story they could not have predicted. They had expected a casual performance, perhaps even a humorous one, and instead, they were witnessing genuine talent, vulnerability, and courage. The transformation of perception was almost tangible. Those who doubted her were now fully convinced of her extraordinary ability. The woman's expression showed both concentration and calm, a combination that was rare to see. Her breathing was steady, her posture relaxed, yet her fingers moved with precision and strength. Each chord resonated through the room, carrying emotion and intent, and the audience could feel it in their chest, in the quiet moments between the notes. As she continued, a sense of story emerged from her music. It was as if she were speaking without words, telling tales of joy and sorrow, hope and longing. People were moved, some closing their eyes to fully absorb the sound, others sitting forward to catch every subtle nuance. The room had become a shared space of emotion, one that required no explanation, only presence. The guests who had initiated the dare were now sitting quietly, almost ashamed for underestimating her. Their playful teasing had turned into genuine admiration. They exchanged glances, acknowledging silently that they had misjudged her. The room's energy had shifted completely, and they were grateful to witness such authenticity and talent. In this space of silence and music, people began reflecting on their own lives. They thought about moments when they had underestimated someone or overlooked hidden potential. They considered their own hidden talents and the times they had hesitated to share them. The woman at the piano had done more than play music. She had created an experience that inspired reflection and self-awareness. The soft lighting in the room highlighted her movements, the gentle shadows emphasizing the grace of her hands as they moved over the keys. The piano seemed to respond to her touch, producing a sound that was both warm and vibrant. It was a perfect harmony between musician and instrument, and everyone in the room could feel it. Even as the piece neared its conclusion, no one seemed to want it to end. Each note was savored, each chord lingered in the air, and the audience remained completely absorbed. The woman, too, seemed reluctant to stop, as if the music itself was reluctant to leave her fingers. When the final note finally faded, there was a pause, a collective holding of breath, before the room erupted into quiet, heartfelt applause. It was not the loud, boisterous clapping of a typical party. This was applause born from genuine respect and awe, a way to honor the talent and courage that had been revealed. People stood slowly, some moving forward to offer words of praise, while others simply remained in place, still absorbing the beauty of what they had witnessed. The woman rose from the piano, her posture calm and modest, accepting the admiration with quiet grace. She had not sought the attention, but she had earned it fully. Her smile was small but genuine, a reflection of satisfaction and humility. The room, now filled with warmth and respect, seemed to radiate with the impact of her performance. And in that moment, everyone understood something important. Talent is often hidden, courage is quietly brave, and moments of unexpected beauty can change the way people see the world and each other. The playful challenge had become a profound revelation, a night that would be remembered for years, not for the dare itself, but for the extraordinary woman who turned it into something unforgettable. As the applause settled, a soft murmur ran through the room, a mix of amazement and disbelief. People were still processing what they had just witnessed, and many exchanged quiet words with one another, speaking in tones of awe. It was as if they had been part of a secret, a rare experience that only a few could fully understand. The woman remained seated at the piano for a moment, letting the silence embrace her. She took a deep breath and allowed herself to feel the energy of the room, the attention now gentle and sincere rather than playful or teasing. She began to play again, this time more freely, without hesitation. The first notes were lighter, almost whimsical, carrying a sense of curiosity and joy. Her fingers glided over the keys with confidence, drawing intricate patterns of sound that filled every corner of the room. The audience leaned forward instinctively, captivated once more, their eyes tracking every subtle movement of her hands. Even those who had tried to mask their amazement before were now openly watching, fully absorbed by the unfolding performance. Each phrase she played seemed to have its own life, its own story. The music shifted seamlessly from soft, contemplative melodies to lively, energetic sequences. There was a rhythm that felt natural, almost conversational, as if she was speaking to the room directly through her instrument. The audience, though silent, responded with their attention, their expressions changing with every note, reflecting the emotion of the music. Some faces showed smiles of wonder, some furrowed brows of concentration, and some eyes glistened with unexpected emotion. Her technique was flawless but never mechanical. There was a human touch to every chord, a subtle imperfection that made the music feel alive. The contrast between delicate moments and strong, bold phrases kept everyone on edge, listening with anticipation. The room itself seemed to breathe with the music, a living entity shaped by sound and emotion. For a moment, it felt as though time had slowed, and the only thing that existed was the woman, the piano, and the audience's collective focus. As she played, the stories of the people watching mingled with the music. Some remembered their own hidden talents, the times they had been underestimated or overlooked. Others thought of friends or family who had quietly excelled at something they never shared. The music resonated with their experiences, sparking reflection and sometimes nostalgia. It was as if her hands were not only creating sound but also gently touching the lives of everyone present. The woman's expressions changed with the music. Her eyes would close briefly during the softer passages. Her lips curved in a subtle, almost imperceptible smile. During the more energetic sequences, her gaze would lift, focused and intense, as if communicating determination and strength to the room. The combination of focus and emotion created a magnetic presence, drawing the audience in completely. No one dared to speak, not out of fear, but because the music demanded their full attention. Occasionally, a guest would glance at another, silently sharing their astonishment. They had expected a playful performance, perhaps even a comedic one, but what they were witnessing was far beyond any expectation. The woman's calm demeanor, the depth of her skill, and the emotion she infused into the music created a rare and memorable experience. People were humbled, reminded of how little they truly knew about the abilities hidden in the hearts of others. Her playing shifted once more, moving into a piece that was slow, deliberate, and deeply emotional. Each note seemed to echo in the room, carrying weight and meaning. Guests leaned in, some holding their breath, others closing their eyes to absorb the sound fully. It was no longer just music. It was a story being told, a reflection of feelings and experiences that words could never capture. The room was silent except for the soft vibrations of the piano, a silence heavy with respect and emotion. As she continued, a few individuals felt tears prick their eyes. The music was more than beautiful. It was stirring something within them, awakening emotions that had been buried or forgotten. There was no need for explanation or translation. The message was clear in the notes and the way she played them. The woman's ability to communicate through music alone created a bond between her and the audience, a connection that transcended words. Her hands moved with increasing complexity, weaving together layers of melody and harmony. The audience could sense the years of dedication behind each movement, the countless hours of practice that had gone unnoticed until now. The skill was undeniable, but what made it extraordinary was the sincerity behind it. She was not performing to impress. She was sharing a part of herself, and that authenticity resonated deeply. Some guests began to realize the subtle courage it took to play in front of a crowd that had initially doubted her. It was not easy to step up when people expected a joke, a light-hearted display, yet she had done so with quiet confidence. Her bravery added another layer to the admiration she inspired. It was a reminder that courage often appears in unexpected ways, in moments that seem small but carry significant impact. The playful atmosphere that had initiated the challenge had been replaced entirely. What began as a casual dare had evolved into a demonstration of talent, emotion, and resilience. The room's energy had shifted, becoming almost reverent. People were no longer participants in a party. They were witnesses to something unique, something that would stay with them long after the evening ended. Occasionally, she would glance at the audience, not seeking validation but acknowledging their presence. There was a quiet intimacy in these moments, a subtle communication that this was a shared experience. The audience responded by giving their full attention, honoring the connection without disrupting it. Each note, each pause, Each delicate trill was amplified by the collective focus of everyone present. The music began to build toward a climax, a crescendo that drew the room into a collective anticipation. Her fingers moved faster, more confidently, yet every note remained precise and expressive. The energy in the room intensified, almost palpable, as people leaned in to catch every sound. It was a moment of unity, a rare experience where an entire room was completely synchronized with the emotion being expressed. The woman's hands danced over the keys, the melody twisting and turning in ways that felt both natural and surprising. The complexity of her playing was mesmerizing, yet it never felt forced or showy. She had mastered the delicate balance between technical skill and emotional depth, creating a performance that felt effortless despite its difficulty. Guests watched in silent wonder, some leaning closer to the piano, others holding their breath, all completely absorbed. At the climax, she paused for a brief moment, letting the last notes linger in the air before continuing. The silence was profound, almost tangible, as if the room collectively held its breath to savor the sound. Then, she continued, softer now, with a gentle and reflective melody that contrasted beautifully with the intensity that had just passed. The shift in tone was subtle but powerful, guiding the audience through a range of emotions in a single piece. It was clear to everyone that this woman had not only talent but also the ability to tell a story through music. She had taken what was meant to be a casual, playful dare and transformed it into a deeply moving experience. The audience felt privileged to witness it, aware that moments like this were rare and precious. Each person in the room carried a piece of that experience with them, a memory that would linger far beyond the evening. As the piece drew to a close, the audience was quiet, not out of impatience, but because they were fully immersed in the last notes. The final chords resonated in the air, echoing softly and creating a sense of closure that felt both satisfying and emotional. When the last sound faded, there was a moment of silence, a collective inhalation, as everyone processed the depth of what they had just experienced. Then, slowly, applause began. It started softly, tentative at first, but grew steadily, becoming warm and heartfelt. People stood, clapped, and smiled, expressing their admiration without words. The woman rose from the piano, her posture calm and composed, acknowledging the applause with a modest nod. She did not seek attention, yet she received it fully, a reflection of both her skill and her humility. The room, once filled with casual chatter and laughter, had transformed completely. The playful challenge had turned into a shared moment of wonder and admiration. The woman's talent, courage, and emotional depth had left a lasting impression, reshaping the way everyone in the room saw her and perhaps themselves. It was a night that would be remembered, a night when music spoke louder than words, and when a quiet woman captured the hearts of everyone around her. The room had become completely silent, each guest fully absorbed in the music that continued to flow from the piano. The woman's fingers moved effortlessly over the keys, and the sound seemed to take on a life of its own, echoing in every corner of the space. The audience could not look away, as if their very attention was necessary to keep the music alive. It was more than a performance. It was a conversation without words, a story being told purely through sound. Her hands glided over the keys with a grace that was mesmerizing. The notes rose and fell, creating waves of emotion that the audience could feel deep in their hearts. Some leaned forward, captivated by the subtle details of her playing, while others simply closed their eyes, letting the music wash over them. The energy in the room was unlike anything they had experienced before. It was electric yet soothing, powerful yet gentle. She shifted effortlessly between melodies, moving from soft, contemplative passages to dynamic, lively sequences. Each transition felt natural, seamless, and deliberate. It was clear that she was not just playing notes mechanically. She was telling a story, conveying feelings that words could never capture. The audience sensed this and responded with complete attention, giving her the space to express herself fully. Occasionally, a guest would glance at another, exchanging a quiet look of amazement. The playful skepticism that had existed at the beginning of the night was gone, replaced entirely by respect and awe. they realized that what they were witnessing was far beyond ordinary talent. This was someone who had practiced, lived, and breathed music for years. Someone whose skill and passion could move an entire room without a single word. The woman's expressions reflected the music she played. Her eyes would close during gentle passages, her lips curving into a soft smile, showing her connection to the melodies. During more intense sections, her gaze became focused, her movements precise and controlled, demonstrating her mastery and dedication. Each gesture, each note, conveyed emotion and intent, creating a powerful link between her and the audience. The atmosphere in the room had shifted completely. Conversations had ceased, laughter had disappeared, and all that remained was the music and the people listening to it. The audience was fully present, suspended in the moment, captivated by the skill and emotion pouring from the piano. The challenge that had been issued in jest now seemed trivial compared to the beauty unfolding before them. Some guests were moved to tears, quietly wiping them away, overwhelmed by the depth of feeling the music evoked. Others felt chills run down their spines, caught off guard by the raw emotion and unexpected talent. The performance had become more than entertainment. It had become a shared experience, a profound connection between the musician and everyone in the room. The woman continued to play, each note carefully placed, each chord filled with intention. She demonstrated not only technical skill but also emotional depth, creating a performance that was both precise and heartfelt. The audience could feel her dedication, her practice, and her love for the piano, and it resonated deeply with them. They were no longer merely observers. They were participants in a moment of rare beauty. As the music progressed, it seemed to tell a story of its own. The melodies evoked a sense of longing, hope, joy, and reflection. Guests felt transported, imagining scenes and emotions that the music suggested. Some thought of their own experiences, recalling memories and feelings they had long forgotten. Others simply allowed themselves to be swept away, carried by the flow of sound and emotion. The piano's notes seemed to fill every corner of the room, vibrating through the air and into the hearts of everyone present. There was a sense of unity, an invisible connection that linked each person through the music. The audience no longer thought of themselves as separate individuals. They were part of a shared experience, connected by the sound and the emotion it conveyed. The woman's movements became even more expressive as the piece reached its peak. Her hands flew over the keys with confidence, creating complex layers of melody and harmony. The audience watched in awe, recognizing the dedication and talent required to achieve such mastery. They were witnessing a rare combination of skill, emotion, and courage, and it left a lasting impression on everyone present. The music shifted once again, becoming softer and more reflective. The notes were gentle, almost whispering, yet filled with emotion and meaning. Guests leaned in, their attention unwavering, as they absorbed every nuance. It was a delicate contrast to the powerful sections that had come before, demonstrating the woman's ability to convey a wide range of feelings through her playing. The room was completely silent now, not from lack of interest, but out of pure reverence. The audience was captivated, hanging on every note, fully immersed in the moment. Even those who had initially doubted her abilities were now completely absorbed, their skepticism replaced by admiration and respect. The music had transformed the room, creating a shared sense of wonder and appreciation. As the performance continued, the audience became aware of the courage it had taken for the woman to accept the challenge. She had stepped up in a situation where others expected a casual, playful performance, and instead, she had revealed extraordinary talent and emotional depth. Her bravery added another layer to the admiration she inspired, highlighting not only her skill, but also her confidence and resilience. The music moved toward its conclusion, gradually softening, slowing, and becoming more introspective. The notes lingered in the air, creating a sense of closure and reflection. Guests remained silent, savoring the final moments, reluctant to let the experience end. The woman's expression was calm and serene, a reflection of the satisfaction and fulfillment she felt from sharing her gift. When the last note finally faded, there was a brief, almost sacred silence. The audience held their breath, absorbing the impact of what they had just witnessed. Then, slowly, applause began, growing steadily into heartfelt and enthusiastic recognition. People rose to their feet, clapping, smiling, and offering words of admiration. The applause was genuine and warm, a reflection of the profound effect the performance had on everyone in the room. The woman stood, acknowledging the audience with a modest nod and a quiet smile. She did not seek attention, but she received it fully, her talent and courage recognized by everyone present. The room had been transformed, the playful challenge having evolved into a moment of shared wonder and inspiration. Guests were left with a deep sense of respect, not only for her abilities but also for her humility and grace. As the evening continued, the energy in the room remained changed. Conversations resumed, but they were quieter, more thoughtful, as people reflected on what they had experienced. The woman returned to her seat, calm and composed, a small smile on her lips, knowing she had shared something meaningful. The challenge had revealed more than her musical talent. It had revealed courage, authenticity, and the power of unexpected moments to inspire and move others. The memory of her performance lingered in the minds of everyone present. People would recall the quiet anticipation, the unexpected beauty of the music, and the profound emotions it evoked. It was a night that would be remembered not for the dare itself, but for the extraordinary woman who had turned a simple challenge into an unforgettable, real-life story of talent, courage, and connection. As the last note lingered in the air, the room was filled with a profound silence. It was a silence not of emptiness, but of awe, as though everyone was collectively holding their breath, unwilling to let go of the magic they had just experienced. The applause began softly, hesitant at first, then swelled into a warm, heartfelt roar. People stood, clapped, and smiled, expressing their admiration in ways that words alone could not capture. The woman remained at the piano for a few moments, letting the response wash over her, her hands resting lightly on the keys, her eyes reflecting calm satisfaction. She finally stood, graceful and composed, offering a humble nod to the audience. There was no arrogance, no need for praise. She had played for herself as much as for anyone else, sharing a part of herself that few had ever seen. The room felt transformed, filled with a sense of unity and wonder. Conversations resumed slowly, but they were quieter, more thoughtful, as people reflected on what they had just witnessed. The energy had shifted from playful teasing to genuine admiration, and the atmosphere was now one of respect and inspiration. Guests approached her, eager to express their appreciation. Some spoke in awed tones, complimenting her skill and the emotion she had conveyed. Others were quieter, offering gentle smiles or simple nods, their reactions just as meaningful. The room buzzed with a new energy, one that was sincere and heartfelt, as people shared their experiences of being moved by the music. The woman accepted the praise with modesty, acknowledging each gesture with a soft smile, never seeking to dominate the attention but fully aware of the impact she had made. The people who had challenged her initially looked on, their expressions a mix of amazement and humility. They had expected a playful, perhaps even humorous performance, but what they had witnessed was far beyond anything they had imagined. Their teasing had inadvertently led to a moment of revelation, both of talent and of character. They approached her with genuine respect, recognizing her courage in stepping up to the challenge and the extraordinary skill she had displayed. The woman's eyes met theirs briefly, a quiet acknowledgement passing between them. There was no resentment, no sense of proving them wrong for the sake of it. Instead, there was a subtle understanding that the challenge had been an opportunity to share her gift, to reveal a side of herself that was usually hidden. The realization that something so small could lead to something so profound was evident in the expressions of the people around her. As the evening continued, people lingered near the piano, still captivated by the memory of the music. Some shared their own experiences with instruments or hidden talents, inspired by what they had just witnessed. Others reflected on moments when they had been underestimated or overlooked, finding a sense of connection to the woman and her performance. It was as if the room had been given a gentle reminder that true talent and courage often lie beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to shine. The woman returned to her seat after a while, her posture calm and serene. She sipped her drink quietly, a subtle smile on her lips, content with the knowledge that she had shared something meaningful. There was no need for additional accolades or recognition. The impact of her music was evident in the expressions, the gestures, and the thoughtful silence that lingered in the room. The audience's admiration was a natural response to the authenticity and skill she had demonstrated. Over the next few hours, the gathering continued, but the focus had shifted. People talked more thoughtfully, reflecting on the performance and its effect on them. There were discussions about talent, perseverance, and the courage to share one's abilities, even in situations where others might not expect it. The woman's performance had become a catalyst for reflection, sparking conversations that went beyond the surface-level interactions typical of such events. It was a reminder that moments of true beauty and inspiration could emerge unexpectedly, leaving a lasting impression. The story of the night quickly became a shared memory among the guests. They recounted the quiet anticipation as she approached the piano, the surprise of her skill, and the profound emotion conveyed through her music. Each retelling emphasized the transformation that had occurred, not only in the perception of the woman but in the mood and energy of the entire room. It was a story that would be remembered and shared, a testament to the power of authenticity and talent. Some guests approached her later in the evening, sharing personal stories of how her performance had inspired them. They spoke of hidden talents they had neglected, of moments when they had hesitated to share their abilities, and of the courage it took to step forward despite doubt or fear. The woman listened quietly, offering gentle smiles and nods, her presence a source of calm encouragement. Her performance had not only entertained but also inspired reflection and self-awareness, leaving a profound mark on those who had witnessed it. The people who had initially doubted her abilities expressed genuine admiration and gratitude. They acknowledged that their playful challenge had led to an unforgettable experience, one that revealed both talent and character. The room had shifted from casual amusement to thoughtful respect, and they recognized that the woman's performance had been the catalyst for this transformation. It was a lesson in humility, in recognizing the potential within others, and in appreciating the courage it takes to step into the spotlight. As the evening drew to a close, guests began to depart, each carrying with them the memory of the performance. The woman remained for a while longer, quietly reflecting on the night. She felt a sense of fulfillment, knowing that she had shared a part of herself in a meaningful way. The applause, the admiration, and the thoughtful discussions that followed were not the reason she had played. They were simply a natural consequence of expressing her talent with authenticity and courage. The room, now quiet and emptying, held the echoes of the music, a lingering reminder of the extraordinary moment that had unfolded. The piano, still and gleaming, seemed to hold a memory of the performance, as if it too had been touched by the experience. The guests who had been present would carry the story with them, a tale of unexpected talent, courage, and the transformative power of music. The woman's performance had changed the perception of her among the guests. She was no longer seen as a quiet, unassuming presence, but as someone with remarkable skill, confidence, and emotional depth. The challenge that had been issued in jest had become a moment of revelation, a real-life story that would be remembered and shared. Her courage to accept the challenge and her ability to express herself through music had left an indelible impression. As she finally prepared to leave, the woman felt a sense of peace and accomplishment. She had faced a situation that might have intimidated others and had responded with grace, skill, and authenticity. The room had witnessed not just a performance but a moment of human connection, one that transcended words and touched the hearts of everyone present. It was a reminder that true talent and courage often emerge in unexpected ways, leaving a lasting impact on those who witnessed them. The night ended with a sense of quiet reflection. Guests departed with smiles, thoughtful expressions, and stories to share. The woman left as well, her steps calm and measured, carrying with her the satisfaction of having shared something genuine and meaningful. The memory of her performance lingered in the minds of all who were present, a testament to the power of talent, courage, and authenticity. The challenge had been a simple moment, but it had become a story that would be remembered, inspiring others to recognize their own potential and the hidden abilities in those around them.